So we are live in all the places we need to be live. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Driving Beyond Borders with Anamdi. I hope your day, your week has gone well so far. I hope it's been productive. Mine has been hectic, but exciting though, very productive. I've done a lot of prospecting and having meaningful conversations, with respect to driving our mission forward. So, uh, if you're not plugged in the African Brand Collective or with African Brand Collective, then you are missing out. There's a lot going on. And so I want to invite you to stay plugged in. But today I'm going to go straight to today's conversation. And today I want to talk about breaking income ceilings without burning out. Again, if you are new to Traveling Beyond Borders, what have you been doing? Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, connect with us on all of our social media platforms, African Brand Collective. But every week on Thursdays, I come and I go live, have conversations around just um, topics and things that I find important and relevant to ensure that we continue to fulfill our mission, which is to help ensure all Africans and African diaspora here thrive in our new homes here in the United States. We don't have to start from scratch. So breaking income ceilings without burning out is our conversation for today. Now I'm going to start by saying many of us are high achievers. The average person, the average African immigrant you would run into, or the African diaspora, is over educated. That you could meet. We bag degrees like it's going style. Um, I have been connecting with, our people at different, are doing different, just in different walks of life over the last few months, few weeks, and it's incredible how talented, how educated our people are. We are for sure, an over-educated bunch. That is just the game. That's just the nature of the business. That's just who we are. So we're qualified, we're overeducated. I don't think there's anything like overeducated. We're just over-certificated. Let me put it that way. Because that was for most of us, education, qualifications, that was the way out, right? That was you have to go to school to make it in life, to do well, to thrive, right? So that was the lesson a lot of us received. That was how we mostly, grew up, and so we've have this mindset that it's not optional, it's a non-negotiable, and all of that. But somewhere between chasing growth and managing expectations and doing the immigrant, navigating the life of an immigrant here in the United States, people tend to hit the ceiling, right? We hit the ceiling, or we hit this, exhaustion. We are worked up and worked out, right? And what you start seeing is, income plateaus, right? You feel like you've hit this income ceiling. You can't break beyond a particular income. You find yourself working or overworking to compensate. Um, you see a lot of people with multiple side hustles. They have their job, and then they have their full-time gig, but they also have other things that they are, doing by the side. They're doing to just keep maintaining the lifestyle and, our double budget lifestyle that I keep talking about. And what that leads to is you see people having this burnout quietly, and something we're trying to make it a normal conversation now within our own ecosystem at the African American Collective. We have mental health experts who come talk about burnout, mental health issues. But traditionally, that is not a conversation we embrace. All right. Um, and so I want to say this, and I hope it's not controversial, but more effort is not the same as more income. It just is not. Hard work is good, but more work is not necessarily going to lead to more money. I can tell you, I know, I've lived this life. And so, why do we hit these income ceilings for us as immigrants? Why is this a challenge? Why do immigrants hit income ceilings? Um, you know, that there's a few, structural and psychological factors that affect us. Again, some of the things I already talked about. But I'll start with career compromise, right? The first job a lot of people take is taking for survival. It's a lot of people, that's how we start our journey. You get what you can so you can pay bills, so you can live, so you can take care of responsibility. It's survival driven. And what happens is you have the skills mismatch. You have qualifications and expertise and talents that are not being utilized by this survival job, because what's good is the talent if you're not working, right? So this is what's paying me, so I'm going to do it. Um, but what we tend to see happen is when you take on these jobs and these opportunities, people stay too long because it's safe, it's stable, and somehow they've end up compromising their career. They compromise the original goals. I've seen this because I have spent the last decade, I would say, the last at least 8 to 10 years, um, working, doing workforce development, career coaching, career training under the Enstar Technologies platform, which is kind of where the African American Collective has evolved from. And I've had this conversation 1,000 times with people. And it's like people come and they have this skills, they have this background and trainings, and then they are doing things completely unrelated. Again, that's the journey and decisions that we have to navigate sometimes to survive, to thrive, to do what we, that's the do what we have to do kind of deal that we, hand that we're dealt. And what happens is people end up, this job I took it just because that was what was available. And next in 2, 3, 4 years past, now I'm still on this job. But because there is no, it's consumed me so much, it's taken up so much of my time. Find the opportunity to, I can't even, I don't have the bandwidth to continue to develop myself, to upskill, to even find something else to do. And so I end up staying longer than I had originally budgeted to stay, because again, I can't afford any gaps in employment, as it were. Um, and so we see people staying, and what leads again to this career compromise, this, you're not in the field of your expertise, you're not doing what you've been trained to do, and you've almost began to lose touch with your area of strength. All right. The other reason why, and so what that leads to, what I just described, would be downsell, can't out earn that. That's basically because you're capped. It's almost like, hey, this job you took it to survive. There's only so high you can go. Even if you go to the next tier up, maybe become a manager, supervisor, or whatever, it's still a limited cap in income. All right. The next income ceiling reason that I've seen is visibility gap. Um, this is very, very common. I've seen this a lot, even for people who are working in great situations, who are in good jobs, working in corporations, even in their own lane, right? Again, this is again another cultural thing that I've seen that we have. Um, we almost let my job speak for me. My work will speak for itself. And so you see us get stuck in that. We do great work, but we're not, positioning ourselves strategically to have the visibility, to have the acknowledgement, that we should be getting for the work we do. And so a lot of times the team gets credit for the work, the manager gets credit for the work, the person who speaks up more. A lot of people are taking, I don't want to say taking your accolades, but they are living off of the quality of work you're delivering, and they're riding your coattails, but you're not getting any credit for it. You're not getting any recognition for that. Um, and what happens is we have this, again, this cultural humility. Often will not lead to invisibility, right? And so again, because this is so cultural, it's not in our it's not in our natural DNA. You don't look an adult in the eye. You don't look an elder in the eye. You don't, those type of things. They again, let your work speak for itself. You don't have to be braggadocious about it. And now we're in this culture where you have to advocate for yourself. You have to speak up. You have to own your work. You have to own your voice. Those are things that we now need to relearn. But it becomes a case of where I am not rising because I am not speaking up, I am not demanding for, I am not requesting for. A lot of the times, these opportunities are available for us, but we don't get it because we are invisible. We get the work done, so you don't get fired. But you're not being thought of when it's time for elevation and pay bumps and promotions. Again, because of that visibility gap. That is another reason I've found and I've seen why we hit this income ceilings. Next one is fear-based decisions. Um, Immigration uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen, and so you tread softly. Yes, especially some people who are in between in that season of navigating their papers, or you are at the maybe your H1. Yeah, so H1 is I dealt with H1 where you can't really move. You can, but there's a lot of nuance and legal ramifications for you moving from one job to another, and so it's finding the right employer. It's do these guys even want to deal with this? What if it doesn't work out? And then now I'm stuck in the middle. So all of this uncertainties, all of this factors beyond our control. You're like, man, you know what? I'm in a good place. Let me just stay here, right? I think I'm doing okay. And what people do is they just stay because so that they can ride that wave. But let me just finish up with this process. And again, this is something I've seen, I experienced, I dealt with, right? Where you just ride it out until and you stay on this place. And what happens again? A lot of the time, that opportunity to jump or to get that bump, even if you're doing more, it might require you moving, but then you're not able to because of the uncertainties that we have to face sometimes. So fear-based decisions is another big reason why we have this income, we experience this income ceilings. And last but not the least is the hustle trap, right? We just do more work instead of increasing value. We like to just take on more, expand the scope of what we're doing. You're doing more, but it's not paying you more. That again, raise my hands. It's something that comes, especially for talented people, skilled people, multi-talented. You're trying to give expression to all of your gifts, give expression to all of your talents, but you are not, you know, you're not paying attention to how much more you're taking on. You're taking on projects. You're taking on more uh, um, side hustles. You're doing, there's just that hustle trap, but then it's not leading to more income. And it's what I found again. It's just these income ceilings I'm talking about. They are really about efforts. Every category I've described here is not a lazy person. It's not something that we not working or not hustling is not something that's within the DNA of the African immigrants, and so it's really about positioning. All right, so the wrong strategy to take is take on more work. That's sometimes that's what we default to is, well, this is not working, let me work on it more. That's not a let me, I can't break through, let me just hit harder. I can't break through, so I'll hit harder. I will double down on this, making these efforts, all of those things. That is not the solution, right? It's not the right strategy. So taking on more hours will not lead to breaking through, right? Taking on more hours, more side hustles, um, more stress, pushing yourself more. If I just do more, right? The extra and extraordinary, all of those things. That's the wrong strategy. The work more is not the right strategy to break out of this income ceiling. Because what you're going to start seeing is this burnout pattern of fatigue, and then you start resenting your job, you start just getting upset about everything. Anxiety comes in, now you start getting disengaged, and then you're stagnant because you're not doing good work. It's no longer exciting, and stagnation sets in. And I'm going to again, as somebody who has been a member of this association before. Burnout is not a badge of honor, it's a signal that the strategy is broken. I heard a pastor say this: if you cannot take a Sabbath day like the Lord God designed for us to have a day where you rest, you're working harder than God intends you to work. I know this is not a church uh, platform, but it's very applicable. If you can't take a Sabbath, then you're working harder than you were intended to work. So the wrong strategy, more hours, more work, more effort. The right strategy is increased leverage. All right, what does that mean? Let's talk about this. All right, so the first pillar in this increasing of leverage is increase skill depth, not skill count. Listen to me. Increase skill depth, not skill count. A lot of the time, this is very rampant in our community. We want to learn the next best thing. You hear it's tech is the new wave, and you want to go learn tech. Okay, well, within tech, somebody is doing data analysis, and so that's the trend. Or tomorrow, people are learning Epic, and you're in Epic. And then next tomorrow, there's this, and we move there. You've acquired and accumulated so many skills, but you are never really, you're not it's like you're a jack of all trades and master of none. Depth is more important, being an authority in the areas of skill that your area of skill, become an authority there. Go for skill depth. Specialization pays more than generalization. All right, specialization pays more than generalization. So don't be a master of everything. Be great at one thing, right? Because what that does, it makes you more difficult or harder to replace. When you are the master of one thing, you are more difficult to replace. You are more sought after. It's that's your goal, is depth. Get certifications aligned with market demand within your scope, within your area of influence. So if you're a tech person, lean into your area of expertise, lean into your area that you found, and just get deeper in there, right? Because that's how you get higher in the pay bracket. That's how you rise in the tax in the tax bracket. So make it difficult for you to be replaced because you're so good, right? Because you bring a lot to the table. That's what your negotiation leverage would be, is, hey, this is what I am able to do, and this is what I bring to the table. That's what you bring to the table when you're having those conversations with your supervisors, when it's time to do your annual appraisals. You're going to say, hey, this is how I advance myself, and that's why I deserve, or I'm, eligible for this bump and this new position and this higher role. It's the depth in your skill, not I've added more, because there might not be a place for that. All right, because add more skills, expanding means you probably have to make lateral moves and start afresh in a different place. So that's not the goal. We're trying to increase revenue and not expand our skill count. All right. Pillar number 2 is increase visibility, not noise. Okay. Increase visibility, not noise. Seek for opportunities to advance internally. Right. Make sure you are making, again, this is a whole day of a whole master class on its own. Just that internal promotion strategy, where how do I advance within this place where I am already, instead of trying to jump ship and reset the clock. You've built value and cachet and some tenure where you work. If there's opportunity to advance there, what do I need to do to negotiate for that next step, and elevate, and then of course that will lead to income increase. Let's become strategic with relationships at your place of work. And I'm not saying there are people who do this and they are annoying at it, but you still see them advancing. There are people who take it too far, where they suck up to the bosses and all of those things. That's not what I'm saying. But make sure you have the right relationships. In the end, your network, they say, is your net worth. And it's true. It's who you know a lot of the times. It's who is in the room speaking up for you, in rooms where decisions are being made. Who is your advocate? Who is your sponsor? Who is your mentor, right? Your sponsors opening doors, making introductions, speaking up on your behalf. Do you have those people? Do you have that? Do you have advocates in your place of work who can say, hey, this is who I can speak to, the quality of work this person delivers? So you have to be strategic in networking and connecting with people, and learn to communicate your impact very clearly. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be able to advocate for yourself. Someone says closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths don't get promoted. You have to speak up for yourself. And I'm not talking about bragging, just being clear and declaring this is the value that I bring and own it. You do the work, own own the value you bring. Um, Number three, still along the relationship lines, increase proximity to decision makers. Simple. Again, the game is the game. The game is the game. I know it's not something that we talk about. It's not something that we like to embrace, or but it's the game is the game. So, proximity to decision makers, mentors, sponsors, um, leadership, people in leadership exposure. Own your projects, own your deliverables, anything that you played a role in delivering. Make sure you take ownership of your results that you're helping the organization get. Um, income increases. Income increases will follow influence, right? There are people who have the power who make those decisions. Those decisions are not made out of the blues. People sit down and decide who gets promoted, who gets a raise. There's formulas, but there's conversations. A lot of the time, it's people speaking up and saying this guy deserves it. Um, and then next one, increase strategic risk, right? Ask for a raise, ask for it. If you don't ask, you will not receive. A lot of the time, we just hope it's going to come to us. I dealt with this myself. And again, one day we'll get to talk about some of these things. You feel like, man, should I not? It's not something culturally we are comfortable doing, or it's not. And I understand that, but ask for that raise. If there is no opportunity for you to advance in your current situation, change jobs, change employers. Negotiate properly when you're navigating those changes. Make sure you are, again, speaking up for yourself, advocate for yourself, negotiate properly. Because a lot of the times, that first negotiation, that will be your biggest leverage. That's when you can get the most. It's during that initial time. And then transition intentionally, not reactively. Not, "Oh, okay, I'm upset and I have to go." No. Be intentional about your transitions, right? Be very, very calculated as you navigate your career advancement. Um, but yes, you break this income ceilings to encourage meets preparation. All right, there's so much more I have to say, but I have a hard stop for today. But I hope you've gained something out of this conversation. I'll be back again next week, or maybe I'll do a second or part two of this and finish up the content that I have. But thank you again for listening. I will check in with you very soon. But hey, speak up for yourself. Let's go get this money. All right, till next week, stay blessed. My name is Namdi. Go subscribe, do all the things you need to do on YouTube, LinkedIn, follow us, and keep up with the things we have. We have a lot coming up within the community. Get connected and make sure you are plugged in. There's something for you within the African American Collective. All right, God bless you. I will talk to you very soon.